Good morning and welcome. This is Business Equity and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. Today is the final day of Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration. If you're heading down to the Expo Hall at the Convention Center, the consumer exhibits are open today from noon to 7. Please stop by our booth. Say hi. You'll find a special QR code at the booth for a short survey. At least one of the businesses taking that survey then will be eligible for a segment here on Business Equity and Opportunities. We'll have more highlights and special interviews from Summer Celebration next week as well. Many of those interviews fit well into our always featured 7 categories that help inform, motivate, and empower entrepreneurs and small business owners. Getting started, accessing capital, the week in business, accounting and bookkeeping, running your business day to day, industry focus, and our success story. We're here every Sunday on WISH-TV and streaming live same time at wishtv.com. We post all of our segments then on our website, beoshow.com. You'll also see past episodes and extra resources there. QR code that comes up throughout the hour will take you directly to our website. So what's coming up today on Business Equity and Opportunities? Here we go. The National Hire a Veteran event is coming up. Learn how your business can benefit. Jane King has the latest news from the NASDAQ. We get a look at patents and why you might need one. We pour out the history of Hard Truth Distillery, and a happy little accident leads us to the wisdom of Bob Ross, today's success story. We are getting started today with a visit to the star-studded Nail Lounge and share the owner's inspired journey.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Getting started.
We are currently in my full-service salon at 5620 East 30th Street, Suite D. I'm pretty excited that I have been blessed enough to expand my business in year 5. Originally, I was working for a company called Jenny Craig, and they were kind of like at the end and trying to regroup and sell and make sure that they're profitable. So they started letting go all the tenured people, and unfortunately, I was one of those people. I think I was about 32, 33 at the time, and I was just like, wow, to work for a company that I loved and worked so hard and can be let go, I never wanted that feeling again. So I was like, I have to do something for me and my daughter that I know I can continue to be in control of. I used to do hair, and I didn't want to really stand behind a chair anymore. The hair industry has changed so much. I went to a young lady and got my nails done with my sister, and I've been getting my nails done since I was about 10 with my aunt and grandmother, but this was the first time that I was like, she's seeing me, like I love my nails, like I love the feeling, and in that moment I was like, I want to create this same thing for other women. I know the feeling from doing hair, so I decided to go back to beauty school just solely to get the sanitation and the credentials for doing nails, and here we are 5 years later. I've tried to get business funding, grants, different things, and it just didn't work out for me. It wasn't until last year I had the opportunity to join the Eastern Stars Church BBEI cohort, and I feel like that's where I found my village, and they helped me to put myself in a position that I'm not just a nail tech, that I'm a CEO, that I can flourish and go past beyond my dreams. And that's where my help came in. I was actually blessed with a grant, and within that grant, it helped me to be able to get everything that I needed for my new salon, on top of all the things that I had been working for over the last 5 years. So I'm pretty excited about what's to come. We just moved in the second week of April, so I'm still getting everything together. My decor is not done, but of course the most important is getting ready for state inspection and making sure that I have everything to go for the ladies or gentlemen that decide to come in and work alongside me. So I went from a small suite, less than 800 square feet, where maybe 2 or 3 people could be in there together, to now I'm over 1,600 square feet, and I can be full service. So my goal is to have licensed nail techs, lash techs, estheticians, barbers. I grew up in a salon, so just to bring that camaraderie. I know with COVID, it kind of scared us a little bit and put us in suites, but I think building a community and being on the east side and allowing other like-minded people to see that you can create something like this and be prominent in your community, that's my whole goal. So overall, I wanted to kind of look like an art gallery. So I painted this myself, and I went with the thought of for it to not be too feminine, just in case I do have, men, I do have lactations and things like that. So I wanted to kind of be able to be for both. And then on this side, as I'm getting everything printed, it will be all artwork just based around nails, hair, skin, things like that. And I'm gonna add some vines and different things and just kind of make it my own. I couldn't start that process without my parents. Both of them are deceased, so I wanted to make sure that I brought my pictures from home. I was like, I feel like they need to be at the salon to kind of watch over me and see all the great things that I'm doing. I'm 40, so we'll just start there. I hope that it can inspire women and men to know that it's never too late. You know, most of us beat ourselves up when we don't accomplish something at 18 or 21 or even 30. So to say that I'm 40 and I'm in year 5 and I'm still building and I am nowhere near where I want to be, I think just them seeing this little black girl originally from Chicago is striding and making it work. And I just think that by someone seeing me in their community on the East Side, I'm just like you. I'm just putting in the hard work to make sure that I can take care of my family. So I hope that anyone that sees it, they're like, you know what? That just gave me some motivation. Let me write something down or let me call a friend and talk about, you know, a business. But the biggest thing is like Nike, just to do it. Don't worry about if you don't have anywhere to start. I didn't have any money to start. I didn't have a savings for my business, but I just stuck it out.
In addition to her nail lounge business, Star publishes an online magazine that looks inside the nail industry. We'll have more information about how you can find Get Star-Studded magazine, where beauty stands on business, through our website. Just follow the QR code to get there. Up next this hour, National Hire a Veteran Day is coming up this month. We'll talk to the CEO of HVAF to find out what's happening locally and how to get your business involved. July 25th, coming up quick, is National Hire a Veteran Day. Recently, the Indiana Departments of Veterans Affairs and Workforce Development teamed up with our local HVAF, that's Helping Veterans and Families. They hosted a job fair with dozens of Indiana companies all looking to hire. Emmy Hildebrand is CEO of HVAF. She stopped by to share the success of the event and how you can get involved.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to Capital.
I'm Emmy Hildebrand. I'm the CEO of HVAF of Indiana, Helping Veterans and Families. Absolutely. So I'll start with a little history. We were founded in 1993 by a group of volunteers in Indiana who looked around and were disgusted by seeing veterans who'd served our country come home and struggle on the streets of Indianapolis. So we started as primarily a housing agency, but we learned very quickly that we can't be only housing. Obviously, it takes some sort of income to be able to sustain housing once you leave HVAF. So we've invested quite a bit in building out an employment program to help veterans find not just jobs, but also careers to sustain them and their families for the rest of their lives. We did. We were really excited to partner with the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs to host a job fair. We had almost 50 veterans turn out for it and a dozen employers that were there to hire veterans as well. And that's what it takes. It takes all of us to end veteran homelessness. It takes all of us to make sure that veterans are able to leave the military and find meaningful employment when they get home. You know, veterans are men and women who have already shown that they're dedicated to a cause, to our country and to the military, and they often translate that to their employer as well. They're people who know how to come to work on time and do what they're told and be part of a team. And those are things you often can't teach someone. So having a potential employee show up with those skills already in hand is really crucial. And at HVAF, obviously, we serve veterans who are struggling, and they have many barriers that they've overcome on their way to self-sufficiency. So extending a hand to a person who served our country, which not many people do serve our country, I think is a really patriotic act. And as we've just celebrated July 4th, I think it's a good time to remind people that less than 1% of the nation serves in the military. So that means 99% of us are benefiting from those who are willing to serve and sacrifice up to their lives on our behalf. So when they get home and there are things that we can do, like assist them with housing or offer them employment, we should be willing to do those things. We've been averaging about one job fair a month, so we would be excited to partner with any employer in Central Indiana who is willing to hire veterans. They can contact us directly at HVAF. We would love to be connected and start a referral process to make sure that the veterans we serve can get hired. We work with a variety of industries. Veterans are as unique as non-veterans. So we've got some veterans that are interested in logistics, healthcare, healthcare, hospitality, you name it, we would welcome a partnership with any industry in Central Indiana. Again, they're as varied as you would imagine. You mentioned the specialized training that's available in the military. So, people can get pretty advanced healthcare training, logistics, mechanical skills, journalism even. I mean, there's a variety of job codes in the military. So these are men and women who have been heavily invested in. We've got the most professional military we've ever had. And often those skills can translate directly into a civilian job and help them be successful. So, I started my career working for Senator Richard Lugar here in Indianapolis, handling all of his military and veterans affairs. And he taught us all about public service and making a difference where you can. And his directive was like, find that spot where you can make a difference and plug yourself in there and do that. And I've been able to find that at HVAF. There's no more meaningful work than being able to provide a helping hand to a veteran who deserves it. Someone who served our country, who through unfortunate circumstances finds himself or herself at HVAF, and we're able to be there to serve not only the veteran but the entire family to make sure that they're able to live the kind of life that they deserve.
We will have more information about how you can connect with a veteran on our website. Follow the QR code, it'll get you there immediately. Up next, we check in with Jane King at the New York Stock Exchange.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Welcome back. Today, Jane King shares the latest news on tariffs and their effects on Indiana companies, plus milestones and a new tax break.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This Week in Business.
Wall Street has been dominated by tariffs for months now. The August 1st deadline is approaching, and here are some of the tariff proposals that could go into effect. Now, Brazil is the highest at 50%. We don't do a lot of trade with Brazil outside of coffee. President Trump, though, has mentioned the treatment of their former president as reasons for the high levy. 30% of tariffs on the European Union and Mexico are set to go into effect at the beginning of August, and Japan and South Korea would face 25% tariffs. Indiana is one of the biggest goods exporters to China, sending more than $6 billion in goods to the country, which is more than all but 3 other states. Of Indiana's billions in goods, 3.2 was pharmaceuticals and medicines. Soybeans and grains were the next largest category, worth $1.2 billion. And Indianapolis is particularly sensitive to a trade war with China. China is the top export market for Indiana's 7th congressional district, which covers most of Marion County and is home to Eli Lilly and Company. Well, speaking of Eli Lilly and Company, it has seized the lead in anti-obesity drugs. Shares of Indianapolis-based Lilly, the company behind Zepbound, have fallen 16% over the past year. But Denmark's Novo Nordisk, which makes Wegovy, is down 50%. That's because Zepbound is overwhelmingly considered the more effective of the 2 drugs. Even though Novo had a head start hitting the market, Zepbound now has 60% share, including 75% of treatment starts. Meantime, JP Morgan has reaffirmed a bold $1,100 price target on Lilly, citing surging demand for the obesity drugs and a pipeline poised to deliver over the long term. Well, experts from Indiana University Kokomo will be part of an event next month highlighting IU's research, partnerships, and initiatives that impact economic development by fostering business growth, talent development, and community resilience. The summit will bring together university leaders, business executives, policymakers, and community stakeholders to explore the university's impact on economic development throughout the state. Attendees will engage in meaningful discussions, network, and collaborate, planning to further strengthen Indiana's economic future. Well, responding to the growing demand in Indiana across the country for skilled workers in the burgeoning field of theranostics, that's the use of diagnostic and therapeutic radiopharmaceutical drug products for the treatment of various types of cancer. Purdue will soon launch the nation's first graduate degree directly focused on radiopharmaceutical manufacturing. Purdue will partner with Indianapolis-based pharmaceutical company Spectron RX to build a dedicated radiopharmaceutical manufacturing training facility at the company's headquarters. And Toyota is moving electric SUV production from Indiana to Kentucky. Toyota Motor North America spokesperson Stacy Carr confirmed to Inside Indiana Business that production of electric SUVs will be assembled in the Bluegrass State. Carr said a large part of the $1.4 billion investment involved in the construction of the new battery pack assembly plant in Princeton, and ground was broken on that project earlier this year and is moving forward on schedule. Hoosier farmers planted about 1.6 million acres of overwinter living covers, that's cover crops and small grains such as wheat this spring, elevating the state to the top in the nation for cover crops. That's going to a survey by the Indiana State Department of Agriculture. Now, farmers plant cover crops after the fall harvest to keep roots in the ground throughout the winter, and that helps build organic matter in the soil, improve overall soil health, and reduce erosion. Some, such as legumes, also act as natural fertilizers. Well, several education bills have been signed into law this week, including one that raises the minimum salary for teachers across the Hoosier State. One of the bills at the top of Governor Braun's list was House Bill 1515 that requires AEDs, or automated external defibrillators, to be present at school events that might raise students' heart rates, like a sporting event. It also requires school workers know where these AEDs are and what the emergency plan is. Another act that was signed requires kids take advanced math classes if they meet the mark. It also requires little ones take numeracy tests before they fall behind. And millions of people receive a federal tax deduction for the interest they pay on home loans. But under President Trump's new tax cut law, many people, for the first time, can claim a tax deduction for interest on their vehicle loans. This will be available even to people who don't itemize deductions. There are some caveats, though. The vehicles must be new, not used. They must be assembled in the U.S., and the loans must be issued no sooner than this year. From the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Jane King.
We have more news about Indiana stocks to share. May 15th, Indiana-based Arrive AI officially listed shares on the NASDAQ. July 3rd, then, the company helped ring the bell to open trading. We'll have more to share in our one-on-one conversation with the leader coming up next week. This week, though, this hour, speaking of AI, we have information from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on how artificial intelligence is empowering growth and competition in small business. That's next.
This Week in Business is made possible by Indy Biz Pass. This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
Welcome back to Business, Equity, and Opportunities. We have tried, since we started this show, to keep a tabs on artificial intelligence and its growing role in small business. That has changed even in recent months. And perhaps nobody really understands how it's being integrated into small business more than the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which has unveiled a comprehensive nationwide survey about all of this. And Jordan Crenshaw is the person who joins us today to talk more about it. Certainly knows this as the Senior Vice President of the Chamber's Technology Engagement Center. Jordan, thanks for being with us today. Broadly, before we get into specifics about this, how do you see small businesses utilizing AI technology at this point?
Well, Scott, AI is a force multiplier, and it's enabling small businesses, as you know, who typically don't have the same resources as larger companies to compete. And one of the things that we found very interesting is that nearly all small businesses are using a tool that's powered by AI, whether it's accounting software like QuickBooks or payment software. But the news has really been more lately about generative AI, and 40% of small businesses nationwide are using this cutting edge form of AI to market products, create images for advertising, or interacting with their customers.
You mentioned that number, nearly half. Let's dive a little bit more into what you all found with this new report. What's the impact of technology on small businesses more specifically?
Well, our Empowering Small Business report found that 98% of small businesses are using an AI-enabled tool. But there's also real on-the-ground benefits that we're seeing nationwide as well. If you look at small businesses that are embracing AI, they saw 90% of them saw an increase in sales from last year. If you compare that to small businesses that weren't using AI, they're in about the 70% range in terms of seeing increased sales over year. That number also is similar when it comes to hiring. 80% of small businesses using AI hired more workers compared to in the 60s when it comes to small businesses that weren't using AI in terms of hiring. So we're seeing tangible benefits now, and we're just scratching the surface really with the benefits that we're going to see in the future.
It's interesting. We've talked in recent months about sort of like the passive use of AI. You may use through Google and things like that. You may not even realize that AI is already part of your business. Then there's the one that you actively decide to do. So how have you found that the adoption of technology can enable small businesses to be successful?
Well, nearly 90% of small businesses that are using AI now are optimistic it will help them grow. And that same number has said it helps them enjoy running their business. And I'll provide you an example. A coffee shop owner I spoke to, he is running a coffee shop by himself. It's family generation owned. He really needs to focus his time on making good coffee for his community and developing community relationships, and not doing a lot of the back end work that could deprive him of the time and resources he needs to focus on the core business. And what he told me was that he is using things like Shopify to figure out which terms really connect with consumers online. He's using those terms and plugging them into a generative AI chatbot, and is then able to customize his message based on who he's trying to reach, the tone he's trying to get across, so that he can cut down his advertising time by about 70%. So, he's in the front end of his shop and not in the back end, really doing the business and really engaging with customers.
If I know one thing about chambers of commerce, it's that they definitely have resources beyond just the initial conversation. Yours is the biggest. Where can people turn if they want more information, if they want to feel like they've got an advocate in all of this?
If you want to learn more, you can visit us at uschamber.com/technology.
All right, Jordan Crenshaw, thank you very much for the perspective. Again, he is the Vice President of the Commerce Technology Engagement Center with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We'll see you down the road on this issue of AI. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Do you have a great idea you want to protect? Attorney Angela B. Freeman shares her thoughts on patents. That's next.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities.
Our look at intellectual property rights and how to protect them continues this week with patents.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Running your business day to day.
So I'm Angela Freeman. I am a partner and IP attorney at Barnes & Thornburg here in Indianapolis, and today I'm going to talk to you about patents. Previously, we talked about trademarks, we talked about copyrights, which I think are pretty common tools that small business owners know and appreciate. Patents is where it gets a little thick and a little different because patents are so challenging and they are expensive. So this is an area where small business owners definitely tend to shy away. Number one, what's most important is there are multiple mechanisms to actively protect a new invention, a new utility for an invention. That's what patents do. Patents protect new inventions, and there are multiple different kinds, whether it's a design patent, a utility patent, or even plant patents. But today we're really going to focus on the most common one, which is a utility patent. Protecting the use, the function of some invention that must be new, novel, non-obvious, and have some kind of industrial applicability. Those are the legal standards. What I really want small business owners to appreciate about patents, what I've seen in my practice, which again is why I'm doing these series, is because what I find is small business owners come up with this wonderful invention, they know it's awesome, and the first thing they do is go out and tell someone. Go tell their mother, their cousin, whoever the case may be, their business partner. And when you do that, outside of being protected with some confidentiality, that is deemed to be a public disclosure. And that public disclosure starts a clock ticking by which, if you don't get a patent in the United States on file within a year from that public disclosure, you're legally barred from getting a patent at all. And that's only in the US. Other countries, because patent is national, all of these type of protections are national. So if you want to get a patent or a trademark in the US and in Europe, those are two different applications. There's no such thing as just one international protection. And so in other countries like Europe and China and other countries, if you've disclosed it at all, there is no getting a patent in those countries. And many small business owners don't know that. So again, they come up with this awesome invention, they market it, they produce it, they get it on the shelves, and once they're getting real revenue, they're really taking off, at that point, they want to come get a patent, and typically it's way too late for that. So one thing I would advise any small business owners is, if you've come up with something, do not disclose it without A, having a confidentiality agreement in place, or B, having a patent application on file. If you do all those things, you're protected and you'll be good. That's exactly right. So as soon as you file that patent application, no matter what kind it is, whether it's a provisional or a non-provisional, you can then put patent pending on that product to, again, give public notice that this item has a patent application pending, and ideally we'll have a patent issued on it. Again, it's just some preemptive notice to the public to let them know that this is a protected item. You can't just see it and say, oh, this is cool, let's go copy it. One thing you should appreciate about patents is the right to exclude others from doing what you have done. But it is not a monopolizing right that means you can do whatever you want to do. And in fact, there are patents where, yes, you've gotten a patent on a product, but there was one specific feature that made that item novel such that you got that patent. But there are other dominating patents, meaning they're broader, that are out there that even though you have a patent, you don't have the right to practice your invention until you get permission from this other dominating patent in order to make sure that you're not infringing their patent. So again, what's most important to appreciate about patents are they are an exclusive right, not a monopolizing right. And I think that's a common misperception, particularly amongst small business owners. Being a patent attorney is the only type of attorney that requires an additional bar exam in addition to all the other attorneys you know. And that's because you have to know the rules of engagement in order to get patents. Patents of all the IP assets, of all the areas of law, is the one place where you absolutely need specialized knowledge and legal counsel to help conduct the business of getting the patent, because it is so niched and specialized. And that's what I took that extra bar exam to learn those rules. So that is one area where I would absolutely advise anyone, if you're considering a patent, please do seek legal counsel.
Angela will be back in 2 weeks to solve the mystery of trade secrets. Coming up next this hour, more from our visit at Hard Truth Distillery. This time we find out how it all got started.
Running your business day to day is made possible by Long John Silver's.
Welcome again to Business Equity and Opportunities. Early this month, our Circle City Broadcast Entertainment Division spent the day videotaping the Charred Truth Live Fire Invitational cooking competition in Nashville, Indiana, which is the home of locally owned Hard Truth Distillery. While we were there, we had the chance to talk to the owners to find out more about how it all got started. So it is our industry focus.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities Industry Focus.
Well, we actually started out in the beer business, which is one of the reasons I've got this old shirt on here today. This is one of the original, or it is my original Quaff on beer shirt, which that's the business that really got us started. We started out as a brew pub here in Nashville, Indiana, back in a back alley with a place with 24 seats, and we brewed one barrel of beer at a time. And now we sell over 100,000 cases of beer every year here in Indiana. But that got us started. Then we needed more space because that went so well. So we got into the restaurant business, and we had Big Woods Pizza and sold a lot of beer and pizza there. And then, you know, other folks said, well, why don't you try different things, different places in Indiana? So we ended up with, now we've got 8 different restaurants, and one of them that you and I were talking about before is Big Woods Speedway, which is one of my favorites. It anchors Main Street and gives us a chance to showcase everything we do, including Hard Truth. It was 2015 that the legislature passed a law that said we could have a brewery and a distillery. And that's what got us into the distillery business. We decided if God was going to give us this gift where he got the legislature to change their mind, we'd go into that and start distilling legally. And, you know, about the same time, we finally cut the deal that got us this 325 acres here. What an opportunity to figure out how to best create something really memorable with the 325 acres. We're 4 seasons all year round. We're open every day except for a couple of holidays. And if it's wintertime, we can have fun here. Everybody knows about the fall in Brown County and the leaves changing and that kind of stuff. But here we are in June, and we're packed with, you know, with the World Food Championships here and the live fire competition. And, you know, you name it. We'll have an art festival here if we want. We'll release new whiskeys. We'll celebrate by having runs out in the woods. You know, if it's something people enjoy doing and we can do it here and it makes sense, we'll do it. This is another great step for us as we become a national brand with Hard Truth. And you know, live fire and barbecue is such a growing category and is of interest to so many people. It's a perfect fit with whiskey, and you know, as we're seeing today, it's just great. So I'm really excited. This all started with us sponsoring mixology or spirits with World Food Championships last year. We think, you know, World Food Championships, just a great organization, I mean, if you think about the number of the people who get engaged with it and participate, whether it's participants or spectators, it's just fabulous, right? So we're really proud to be associated with it. We're really happy we get to keep some of those Yoder grills for the summer and see if we can figure out the best way to use them. But it's yeah, we're gonna go on the whole ride with these guys. Part of what I get excited about is we're the largest employer down here in Brown County, right? We've got some families where we've got 3 generations working here: the grandchild, the mom, and the grandmom all here, and we feel really good about that, and we feel good about how proud they are to be working here. So I get excited about how, you know, all the fun things we're doing here, you know, where we try to create great experiences for people with the whiskey and now the barbecue and that kind of thing. I get excited thinking about, you know, how great that is for everybody, but how, you know, it's very satisfying to be part of the economic engine of the county.
Well, I think that this all started with my love for creating flavors through food, which was really inspired by my grandmother. So I'm an only child, only grandchild, and from a very, very small age, she had me up on the counter helping her cook her tremendous, tremendous meals. So I didn't realize at the time, but I was getting this palate training and then passion for feeding people. You know, whenever you feed someone something and see this incredible emotional response from them, it's really moving. And so I carried that with me. I was always the one in college, you know, making food for everybody, and I cooked a lot for my family. And then whenever I had this opportunity to get in the whiskey world, I took my knowledge also from making wine and beer that I learned from my father and his friends, and integrated those 2 things into this whiskey project, and it's just been a blast. You know, really, I think the most important thing is concentrating on finding the best ingredients and really talented, hardworking folks to surround yourself with, and then just kind of let the whiskey do its thing. Yeah, so this is our Sweet Mash Rye whiskey, and we just released our first 6-year-old whiskey. So in the world of whiskey, when you're a new whiskey producer, getting to that 6-year mark is a huge accomplishment because it takes a lot of money and a lot of time and blood, sweat, and tears to get there. So this is our 94% rye, 6% malted barley. We work with local farmers as much as we can for the grains, but everything is mashed, fermented, distilled, and aged right here on this property in Brown County, Indiana. A lot of newer brands use other people's whiskey. There's no borrowed whiskey in this, it's all ours. My partners were really the ones with the big vision for what this property is. So we have 325 beautiful wooded acres here in Brown County. If you're familiar with Brown County State Park, it's right across the road. So the land looks just like that. And we have a beautiful production distillery. We have a 300-seat restaurant, 1,500-person outdoor music venue for live music. We've got a tour center, and back to your education, the tour center, not only do we do distillery tours, but we do inside the barrel tours where you learn in depth about the whiskey making process. We do ATV, side-by-side ATV tours where we take you on the 325 acres. We drive, you drink, not the other way around. And then we have mixology classes. We just have a little bit of everything. The other key thing to understand is a lot of times I think people have this really limited view of what a distillery experience is like. We have done a very similar to kind of what Napa did for wine, whereas we are a family-friendly place, plenty of things to do for kids. You can come with a group of girlfriends, a group of friends, couples, your whole family, plenty of space to move around and walk around the property. It's just, I mean, I think a lot of people, their first time here, they think, oh, we'll go there for a couple hours. And then we end up seeing them all that day and then all the next day, because you would really have a hard time running out of things to do here. I was fortunate to be given the privilege to create the mash bills. So the recipes kind of came from here, but again, the execution of the whiskey comes from a lot of really talented people. But as far as tracking those 17,000 plus barrels, I have a very, very talented right-hand man named Chris Moore, who's excellent with an Excel spreadsheet and a pivot table. And so there's a lot of 3D chess involved with, how do we choose and make blends. So each of those 17,000 barrels of whiskey gets tasted at least 5 times before, from when they're made to when they go in the bottle. All that is tracked meticulously. We don't leave anything to question. So as we're creating blends, I want to, my value proposition to you is that if you taste Hard True Sweet Mash whiskey today, the next bottle you open is going to be at least as good, if not better.
Up next, meet a certified Bob Ross instructor who not only teaches to paint like his famous television painter mentor, but also grew up learning straight from the master. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's get artsy. Chris Taylor is a certified Bob Ross instructor in Muncie, Indiana. The famed late artist turned TV star mentored Taylor and often invited him to the television studios to watch the taping of The Joy of Painting. Chris shares with us how their friendship would go on to influence his life.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Success Story.
I want to show you a picture that a young man did, a couple of them in fact, named Chris, that lives right here in Muncie, Indiana. Can you believe this? He brought these in and let me look at them because he won the contest, and you can certainly see why. Chris, you're doing fantastic.
We are in downtown Muncie, Indiana at my studio and gallery. And today we are painting like Bob Ross. And of course, he filmed his show, The Joy of Painting, right here in Muncie, Indiana. I've been painting for over 30 years, and I started painting like most kids, being artistic and doing crafts. My grandmother and I enrolled in a painting class in nearby Yorktown, Indiana. Wasn't in Bob's style, it was just traditional oil painting. But we did do a landscape in that class. And the instructor in that class said, Chris, you need to bring that painting back on Saturday and meet Bob. And so as the kid who watched Bob Ross on PBS growing up, and the reason why my grandmother and I really started painting, I was like, you mean Bob? That Bob? She's like, yeah, he'll be here on Saturday. Come in and say hello. I think he'd like to meet you. So I went back on Saturday with my little painting and I met Bob, shook his hand, and I remember everything from that moment as if it was just kind of magical in a way. You didn't realize how magical it was at the time until many years later. But we struck up this friendship and a mentorship. We would paint together. He would invite me into the studio at WIPB to watch the joy of painting being filmed. And so he saw something in me at that time that I certainly didn't see in myself. We just kind of sparked the love of painting. Everyone always asks me if Bob was the same in real life as he was on television, and my answer is absolutely. He didn't change at all. It was the same demeanor, it was the same attitude, it was the same soft-spoken style. He was always the encourager and always found positivity in anything. And so yeah, he was exactly the same, whether the lights and the cameras were rolling or they were off and he was drinking some iced tea on the steps of WIPB. So as I said, I met Bob when I was in high school and then wanted to pursue being a certified Ross instructor. In fact, when I was in high school, he wanted me to do it then. He's like, Chris, you're good enough. You need to do this. And so I was, but I also wanted to do radio, TV work and television production. And I'm from Muncie, not only where Bob was at and where the Joy of Painting was filmed, but also where one of the top media schools is. But as I was entering my senior year in college, I got the phone call in 1995, July 4th, 1995, that Bob had passed from complications from lymphoma. Never knew he was sick. Never shared that he was sick. He kept that very, very private, at least around me. And so when I got that phone call, my focus kind of changed a little bit, because then it was, well, I was going to do this and I was going to be a certified instructor, work in TV. But at that point, I had lost my friend and my mentor, so painting wasn't really fun for me then. So I got fully engaged in television and sports production at Ball State. And then life happens fast after that. There are no free weekends, there are no free evenings in sports production or television production for that matter. But somewhere around 2018 or so, there's an organization here in Muncie called Minnetrista, and the original WIPB was at Minnetrista, which is just a few blocks down the road. And they had the idea of creating a Bob Ross experience. And so they had reached out knowing my relationship with Bob and knowing that I was local. And that kind of sparked the interest a little bit, to be honest with you. Joan Kowalski, who is now the president of the Bob Ross Company, she had remembered me from those days. She was around then as a youngster as well. She was like, Chris, Bob always wanted you to do this. Bob always wanted you to do this. I'm like, I know. She's like, let's get you certified so you can do this and you can teach. And so we did. And now I've been painting and instructing for the last maybe 4.5, 5 years. Most people come in and the common thing is they'll say, oh, I'm not any good at art. I can't even draw a stick figure, those sorts of comments. And I'm like, well, great, because we're not drawing stick figures, we're painting the landscape. And usually after they get going, they start to just kind of loosen up. I hope that I'm the same kind of person that Bob was for them that he was to me. And so I think hopefully there's a comfort there. I'm an encouraging instructor. I try to help. I try to help where I can. But I think they start to see that, okay, I might be able to like leave here today with a painting. And then by the time they get to the end, they're like, wow, I did that today. And I'm like, yeah, so if you get a few materials and some paintbrushes, think about if you were to continue to do this. And so what happens is, I think they find the joy, I really do. Well, being a certified Ross instructor has certainly given me a new life in my art, I guess. I think there's a side of me that believes and knows I can also become like a master trainer of the Bob Ross style. There's only a few of those, really 2, maybe 3 in the world. I would like to continue to enhance my skills and maybe move into being one of those master instructors someday if I was to be afforded that opportunity. Well, I could never not do it because it's such a part of who I am, and you know, again, painting for over 30 years, and I have such fond memories of growing up and painting with my family and my grandmother, and I used to do my own Bob Ross shows in the basement where I would paint as a kid, and my mom or my dad or someone would film me on the VHS and I would do the whole show. And I just have so many fond memories of those things. But I think what keeps me doing it is getting to show people truly the joy of painting. You know, this isn't crazy, like not really fine art or anything, but the more you do it, you can perfect it and do some really crazy things with the knife and the brush. And so I love seeing that joy from someone when they do make a happy little tree and they're like, wow, it looks like a tree. Or they have a happy accident and I'm like, don't worry, it's not a mistake, we can fix it. Like those things that you know so much from Bob, I love that. That's kind of the little thing that, you know, setting up and cleaning all the brushes, yeah, that's one thing, but when you see someone and the light goes off or they have true joy, even if for that day they escaped for 2 or 3 hours and they painted up a landscape, that's pretty cool to see. And to know that I can influence that I can lead that I can encourage that, that's really fun.
You too can paint like Bob Ross. Chris Taylor has a number of workshops coming up in his downtown Muncie art studio. Follow our QR code. We'll show you how to connect with him. Join us next week. We have highlights of this year's Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration. Meet the founders of Arrive AI and some of the ways to celebrate August as Black Business Month. Our show airs every Sunday over the air here on WISH-TV and WISH-TV.com online. We post all of our 7 weekly segments and entire shows on BEOshow.com. Check out the extended conversations in the BE&O podcast every week to get a little something extra. Thank you for spending this hour with us. Join us next week for more business equity and opportunities. Until then, I'm Scott Sander. Have a great day.
Business Equity and Opportunities is made possible by Bose McKinney and Evans, Eskenazi Health, IndyBiz Pass, Fifth Third Bank, Long John Silver's, and Lilly, a medicine company.